Hey everybody, it's Monday. We're back once again doing a horror movie. Phantom has been asking for this one for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I know that Thanksgiving is not this week but next week. But I figured we would go ahead and do this one cuz we could do like next Monday we could do Thanksgiving, the one that slasher movie that just came out last year or the year before. Cuz I kind of wanted to see that one anyway. So that cuz the thing about Blood Rage, which has a bunch of titles, alternate titles, which we'll get into in a minute, is that it is indeed set on Thanksgiving, and there is a Thanksgiving dinner kind of scene at the beginning, but Thanksgiving doesn't really factor into the plot.
I didn't see it in there either.
Like after, no, because at the beginning she's like cutting the turkey and all that other kind of stuff. So it's like, so it is set on Thanksgiving, but it's not like it has anything to do with.
That's what I said. There's not a thing. It's not really a Thanksgiving theme.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
It's standard slasher actually.
Pretty much.
For 87. Light,
Although
light, it's kind of light. Not as good as say like a Friday the 13th from the era, but.
Well, the thing about it though is that here's the thing. Like I was watching the movie, and at the end of it, like the copyright at the end of the credits says copyright 1983.
Okay.
So I looked it up, and what actually ended up happening. This movie was actually shot in 1983.
Okay.
And it was initially released under a different title, which I think was Nightmare at Shadow Woods. Like, Shadow Woods was the name of the apartment complex where everybody was getting killed. Like, where it was that. And I think, like, all the gore had been cut out. Now, here's the thing, though. We watched a version that... Because I think the only place that I saw it was streaming was on Vudu, and I think you had to pay for it. Somebody had put it up, like a nice version, up on YouTube. So I watched that version, and I was like, wow, it seemed like it cut away from, like, a lot of the murders and stuff. So I went, like, and no, like, what happened is that's the version that all the gore and nudity was cut out.
Edited, okay.
So I went back and, like, watched some other videos about it. So I actually did see, like, all the other scenes that were chopped out of it.
Okay. That's
so it was, like, much gorier and and actually had, like, a lot more nudity, even from a slasher movie at the time. Yeah, like there was a lot of nudity in this. So the version that's on YouTube that somebody put up, like I appreciate that they put it up, but like just know going in that pretty much all the gore and nudity has been cut out of it.
That's the light version.
Yeah, so that's why. But like I said, I went back and watched like all the stuff, and I was like, oh, and it's kind of a shame because the gore effects in this are actually pretty decent. Like for 1983.
Okay.
Like, there's one scene where, like, the doctor gets, like, cut in half, and she's, like, still alive, inexplicably. And she's, like, just go, and, like, her legs are over there and stuff like that. I was like, that was pretty rad.
When I was watching it, I was enjoying it for certain aspects of it. It's very much an 80s timepiece. The haircuts and everything that they're wearing.
Oh, my God, it is the most 80s thing you'll ever see.
It was 80s as fuck. The cars.
The hair, the synth soundtrack.
The sense of humor was a little kind of dated and not really that funny. I guess it was supposed to be funny. Some of the stuff maybe wasn't supposed to be funny, but it did deliver in the nude scenes, though. They knew what they were doing.
Although there's a lot more nudity in the version that was not on YouTube.
That was the version we should have watched, but we didn't know.
Well, I didn't realize.
Yeah, but even edited, there's enough in there that if I was fucking 17, when this came out, I'd have been satisfied probably. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good one. I did not see this when it came out. I guess it just wasn't. I didn't
either.
It wasn't available at the video rental stores, I guess, where I was at the time. So I never even heard of it.
This seems like it's kind of like fairly obscure, I feel like. Like I said, it was shot in 83. It was shot in Jacksonville, Florida, which is up in North Florida. My mom used to live there, actually, a long time ago. And like I said, it was shot under actually, it's got 4 titles. I forgot. It was initially shot under the title Complex, like as in apartment complex. And then it was released as Nightmare at Shadow Woods. Then it was released as Slasher. The version that's on YouTube, actually the title card says Slasher instead of Blood Rage. It wasn't called Blood Rage until it was released on VHS.
Okay.
Like later on in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, because it only got like a limited theatrical release in 83, and then it kind of fell into obscurity.
Yeah.
And then it sort of got released on VHS like in 87, and they gave it a new title. I kind of feel like Blood Rage is probably like the best title, although none of them really have much to do with what's going on in the movie, I feel like.
In 87, I was a senior in high school. Had we seen this in 87, we probably would have liked it. Me and all my buddies, we'd go fucking rent from Blockbuster and and fucking what was the other one? It was East Coast Video or West Coast Video or
We had one called Movie Gallery.
Yeah, there was. I think we had one called Movie Time also. We had like 3 different ones. One of them was the one where you could get all the fucking skanky fucking flicks from. You know what I mean? You had X-rated flicks.
Yeah, that was what our Movie Gallery was.
Yeah, and it was the sign was red and white. I don't remember the name of it. I think it might have been West Coast Video. It was a chain, but it wasn't as big as Blockbuster. They had an adult section and shit, and then they would they would have much fucking harder horror movies. That's what we were renting. And during this era, me and my buddies, we liked shit that had occult themes to it. You like Hellraiser and From Beyond and fucking one we really liked was Reanimator. And we really liked that one. And we liked some of the slashers, you know. I think had we seen this one when it came out, with all the nudity and the violence put back in it, we probably would have liked it. But it's not a first-rate B movie. It's like a second-rate B movie or third-rate.
There's something kind of really a lot of horror fans really like this one and like, you know, watch it every Thanksgiving because like I said, it's set on Thanksgiving. I think why a lot of people like it is just because it's kind of batshit a little
crazy.
Bit.
Yeah, it goes all over the place.
Like, but in a really entertaining way. Like, because some of the choices that were made in this are just kind of baffling.
The mama goes crazy and she fucking starts eating out of the refrigerator and fucking.
Oh my god, I fucking loved that scene.
And then she's drinking.
The whole. Well, I was trying.
She's going crazy because her son.
Louise Lasser is in this, and I believe before she was in this movie, I think she was on Mary Hartman. Do you remember that show?
I remember the name of it.
Yeah, like she was on that. I think she might have been in some Woody Allen movies too, if I'm like remembering it correctly. But she is. It's funny because Phantom says she acted her ass off in this movie. She did, but it's like it's weird because I think that's tonally what was cracking me up about it is that she's obviously like taking this a lot more seriously than everyone else is because everyone else is just kind of, you know, it's like a slasher movie, you know what I mean? So nobody's like fucking Olivier or anything like that, but it's like she's like going whole hog and getting all fucking emotional about it and shit like that. And it's just like a really funny juxtaposition. So there's like a whole sequence where, and me and Tom were debating over whether this was like meant to be funny or not. Yeah. Like I thought it was funny, but I don't know. But there's like a whole sequence of like, it's not all one scene, but it's like a couple of scenes that happen like, you know, over the course of the movie. Is that, you know, she's worried because her psycho son, we'll talk about the plot in a second, but like her psycho son has escaped and she's afraid that he's coming back there, like coming home. And so she obviously just cannot even deal with life in general. And so like each scene she's like popping pills and then she's like pouring wine and glugging a big thing of wine down. And then she's like sitting on the kitchen floor in front of the refrigerator with the refrigerator door open, like eating the Thanksgiving leftovers and shit like that. And I was just like, and then like later on, she's like scrubbing the oven and then she's like drinking wine and vacuuming like under the, I'm like, that had to have been purposefully funny. I mean, I thought it was funny.
I thought it was supposed to be funny too.
But
like I said,
but they play it really straight.
Yeah, the sense of humor's kind of off. You're not really sure if it's supposed to be funny.
I was dying. I just thought that was so funny, especially like sitting in front. Because I was telling Tom, I said, you know, it's one of those movie things where, because I've seen like several movies where they're showing how upset they are by having them sit in front of the open refrigerator, like just stuffing their face or whatever. And I said it's kind of the same thing as showing somebody is upset by showing them like all curled up and crying in the shower. And I was like, I don't think a real person has literally ever done that, ever. But they always kind of show it in movies. It's like, oh, look how messed up they are. So that's why I thought it was so funny that she was just like matter-of-factly like sitting on the eating all the shit out of the refrigerator. And I was like, that's so fucking great. And then she's like drinking wine and vacuuming out of the bed and shit. I was like, oh my god, I was making me laugh so hard.
Had we seen it when it came out, me and my buddies probably would have liked it. But I don't think it would have been one of the top ones. I mean, like. I don't really think I'd even put this. I don't think I'd put this ahead of fucking Rawhead Rex, and we love that fucking crazy ass Irish flick.
That was also crazy
with the shitty fucking monster effects and shit, but we just loved the story, you know. And afterwards, we start talking, man, wonder if anything like that actually exists over there in Ireland. You know, that kind of shit. Yeah, man, fucking.
Yeah, a big
like,
monster with googly eyes.
Well, no, we were talking about, churches that had like secret stained glass windows that could cast fucking rays on something at the right time, and elder gods and shit, ancient fucking Celtic gods and crap. He was a Celtic warlord or something. Come back as a demon, or he was a demon. He was a demon and a warlord, I guess.
Yeah.
It was actually a good one, man. That one. But they fucked up the monster. His eyes were just bug-eyed. They didn't move or blink. If they blinked and moved, it would have been a lot better. But I'd probably put this at a similar level as Rawhead Rex, and Rawhead Rex was bad. All right. But we loved it. Because it was fucking zany. I'd put this like underneath that. But not too far under it.
Yeah, because this one's not quite as zany.
Yeah.
But it has like a ridiculous like tone to it, which makes it like really entertaining.
It's American, very American.
It is.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, like the director of this was John Grissmer, and he also made a movie called Scalpel, aka False Face, which I did a review of a while back, like over on my Flickers of Fear thing. I actually like Scalpel more than this one. It's kind of more of a Southern Gothic type of thing. And it's like really lurid, and I was kind of into that. This is much more like a straight ahead slasher, but the thing about it is that you know who the killer is, like the whole time. Like literally there's a scene at the beginning which is set in 1974, like at a drive-in theater. And I think that scene was shot in New Jersey, but the rest of it was shot in Florida. And so these two boys, who I'm presuming are 10, I don't know. They're sleeping in the back of the car, and their mom, who is, older, is out on a date, and her and the date are like making out.
Yeah.
At the, and like I said, she's not a teenager anymore. Obviously, she's got like 2 10-year-old kids or whatever. And I was like, that's kind of weird, like to bring your kids like to the drive-in and then make out with the kids are sleeping back there, but whatever. So the kids implying that their mom is, there she goes again, like her mom's like mom's a hoe or something like that, like she's always going out with dudes.
That would have flown in the 80s. Yeah.
So they're just like, yeah, fuck this shit. Yeah. So they climb out the back of the car. Now immediately one of the twins goes to this other car where 2 teenagers are just straight up naked and having sex in the back seat.
Yeah, which happened.
Well, I know that. But he just like finds an axe, or a hatchet rather. It's like a small axe.
Yeah.
A small hatchet, and like in the back of a truck or something, and just like straight up like hacks the dude's head like in the face, like just whatever. And then like the girl, like she's totally naked and she just runs away. So she makes it, but then the brother that did it like frames the twin brother, right? Like he just like puts blood on his face, even though he clearly still has blood on his hands also. Yeah. So then he's like, he did it, you know what I mean? And then the other twin, whose name is Todd. The first one's name is Terry, and they like he's too traumatized to say anything, I guess, because this kid just like went up and was like, hey, and just like hacked up a kid when he's like 10 years old or whatever, a guy. And so then like we jump ahead 10 years, and apparently Todd has been put in a mental institution because they thought that he killed this dude.
Yeah.
And then Terry, who's the actual killer, has been allowed to run around loose, has presumably not killed anyone in this 10 years that we know of. But I guess it all gets triggered again at Thanksgiving when his mom announces that she's marrying her boyfriend, whose name is Brad, I think. And he's like also the owner of the apartment complex where they all live at. So I guess that, and it also happens too that Todd escapes from the mental institution like at around the same time. So I guess Terry is just kind of like, oh, well, now that he's out, like I can kill whoever I want to and I can just blame it on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the setup. So like I said, nobody in the movie knows that Terry is the actual killer. Everybody thinks Todd is. But the audience knows that Terry is the killer.
Yeah.
So there's not really any suspense or anything like that because
I was gonna.
So basically, it's just like Terry going around and everyone being like, "Oh, Terry, he's such a great guy," until he like fucking chops your head off with a machete. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say because of the way the movie's edited and the way the story goes. I forgot that we already knew who the killer was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I'm going through, and they're like, yeah, I bet you it's that dude that killed is doing all the killing, and just we know who it is. It's that guy. Oh yeah,
like they said at the very beginning, like who the killer was.
I forgot. So
Tom was not paying attention.
Yeah, I wasn't paying real close attention. Well, it's kind of hard to pay attention to it. You know, sometimes it was. I don't know. It was a movie of its time, and it was me the first time seeing it. And it was interesting in a way. What made it interesting was like kind of how archaic it was. Pretty fucking old school. And the copy that they had up on YouTube was like really good HD.
Yeah.
And I was just like marveling over. Yeah, I remember those. I remember those haircuts. I remember those clothes. Yeah, I remember when houses looked like that on the inside. Shit's changed a lot. That world's gone.
It has, yeah.
Long gone.
Well, we were talking about how, because a lot of the girls in this movie have just like ridiculous hair, but it's not ridiculous. I mean, I remember.
It wasn't ridiculous at the time.
I remember like people having those hairstyles, and it's just funny that in hindsight, I guess the same thing happened with the 70s and everything like that. It's like in hindsight, you're like, holy shit, what the fuck were we thinking? Like, why? I didn't have hair like that, but a lot of people did. And it's just like it looked so bad.
A lot of feathered mullet looking things, so and feathered things, and long hair in the back and shit. A lot of that. The guys and the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is the same actor.
Poofy hair.
Yeah. The same actor, Mark Soper, he played both characters, which actually he did a good job, because initially I thought it was two different guys. Like, I thought they got actors that were twins, but then I found out, no, it was both the same guy. So he was actually able to, he's not a fantastic actor or anything like that, but he really did make a distinction between those two characters, so much so that I thought it was actually two different actors, but that were actually twins. He didn't have, like, in his Todd iteration, the one that had escaped from the mental asylum, he comes across as like really kind of hunched over, and he's very awkward, and his hair is like a little bit, it's the same haircut obviously because it's the same guy, but it's like a little bit more scraggly and like a little bit oily looking, whereas Terry, who's obviously a lot more, he's like a sociopath, and he's like a lot more confident and real outgoing and friendly and everything, and so he has like that swept back 80s douche hair. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he has like this kind of high forehead and this kind of thing, and he's just going around like smiling at everybody. But it's just kind of like one of my favorite scenes of this. I love the way everybody in this is kind of clueless a little bit, because so the doctor, or the woman who was Todd's doctor, like her and this other guy, like this crazy dude that just came along with her like to help out, like she comes like doing a Dr. Loomis thing, and she's like coming to look for him like after he escapes, and like the dude that she brought with her, whose name I can't remember, but he had brought like a tranquilizer gun. He was gonna like tranquilize him or whatever, but then they couldn't find him, and then so he's just like chilling out like on someone's back porch like smoking weed or whatever, and Terry walks up to him with very obviously with something behind his back, which is a machete. And so then the guy is like, he gets like up close to Terry, and he's just talking to him like normal, and then he says, the doctor told me that Todd had told her that he wasn't really the one that killed the people. You know what I mean? That it was his twin brother. And then like for a second he's like, oh shit. And then Terry's like, bonk. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Okay. Like he knew that information, and yet he was talking to the twin brother who Todd had accused of being a killer, just like close enough for him to just like stick the fucking machete like all the way through his midsection. Yeah. And so everybody made kind of like baffling decisions like that, which I thought was like really funny.
Yeah, I mean, fucking dude fucking came up to that one girl. Was it with a machete or a sword? I don't remember.
It's a machete.
She didn't even run.
Yeah, remember? The doctor did it.
Didn't even make an attempt to run. She just turned around and presented her chest to him. And he walked slowly to her, and she, pow! And he's like, what you doing? What's up with the fucking machete? Just...
Yeah, what are you doing with that?
Yeah. Why are you trying to kill me? Because you didn't run.
It's funny, you know what, though? But, I mean, this movie isn't the only one that did that, because I noticed that I noticed it a lot, like particularly in like Giallo movies, from the 70s. But a lot of slasher movies from the 80s had that too, where like women would just kind of turn around, they'd see the killer across the room,
freeze.
and then they'd start screaming and just stand. I'm like, run, bitch, or like find something to hit him with at least. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, don't just stand there and like let him. Oh no, he's killing. That really could have been avoided.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, so she did kind of do that. But so, and the thing about it, I kind of like, the ending of this is kind of bad shit too, because I guess the mom. See, I had thought the whole time there is a weird. I don't want to oversell this, but there's like a weird Oedipal thing going on with the mom and Terry. Like, she is way into that kid, like in a weird way.
I didn't really notice that.
Which
wasn't paying attention that close.
If you've seen this director's other movie, Scalpel, there's a lot of weird incesty shit going on in that one too. Yeah. But like with a dad and his daughter.
All right.
It's like pretty fucking creepy. But like I said, that one's kind of more understandable because it's the Southern Gothic, and there was a lot of that kind of shit going on in that genre.
Yeah.
But this. So I had thought that she really did believe. I mean, she still loved Todd. She went and visited him at the asylum, and she brought him pumpkin pie, like a piece of pumpkin pie, and he just like crumps it up in his hand and smears it on the wall and shit like that. I was like, all right. But so she went and visited him and stuff. But I was of the opinion that she loved Terry because she thought that he was the normal one, and that Todd was the killer. So I thought at the end when she found out that wasn't the case, that she would be like happy with it. Because spoiler alert, like at the end she shoots Terry, but then you find out the twist is that she shot Terry thinking that it was Todd because she still liked Terry better. Even though Terry is still wearing the same fucking shirt he was wearing earlier, so it's like I don't understand why she thought they changed shirts or something like that. It's like they had the same shirt on like through the whole sequence. So I don't know why she suddenly thought that was Todd. And then she was so upset that she had killed the golden child, who was actually the murderer the whole time, that she shoots herself. You know what I mean? And poor Todd, I felt so fucking bad for that character too, because it's like that kid. His fucking psychopathic twin brother, like, just axe murders somebody out of fucking just randomly. Then he blames it on him. He gets thrown in a fucking mental institution for 10 years. He finally, like, escapes. And then he comes back, tries to help, you know what I mean? Like, while his brother is, like, killing everybody. And then, including his soon-to-be stepdad. And then, like, his mom is just kind of like, fuck that. I still don't like you. You're still not the good kid. Like, I like the murderer better. So I was like, man, he's going to need, like, a lot of therapy, I guess. Well, and the thing about it, too, is that at the end, I just thought of this later. I was like, since everybody that knew that Terry was the killer is dead, then Todd isn't going to get off scot-free, because it was like he escaped from a mental asylum. Because so even if he tries to say, no, it was Terry all along, they'll be like, yeah, sure. Get back in the fucking straitjacket, buddy. And they're just going to take him back to the hospital. So he's probably just going to be there forever. Like if they ever made a sequel to this, which they never did. But but yeah, it's just, I don't know. This was it's a fun movie. You can see why like a lot of people like this one and like to watch it around, cuz I saw a couple of other, like Cinema Snob did one like a long time ago that I watched that was really funny, and there was a couple other ones that were funny, because a lot of people do this one because there's not really a lot of Thanksgiving horror, when you think about it. I think there's another one. I think Phantom mentioned another one earlier. This one called Home Sweet Home that I think that's kind of similar to this one actually, but it's also Thanksgiving. But like I feel like there's not a lot of them. It's not a holiday that gets a lot of fucking horror attention, which is kind of sad because there's a bajillion Christmas ones.
Christmas and Halloween.
And Halloween ones. Yeah. There's a couple Valentine's Day ones.
Yeah.
Like maybe Valentine and I think Hulu made a couple New Year's ones, although I don't think I saw it. But yeah, so it does seem like there's something to be mined there, I suppose. Because you could do something with that. Like I said, we might do Thanksgiving.
Somebody sent us like all the Thanksgiving videos.
Yeah, I forgot about those, yeah.
I think we just reviewed it all in one
I think we did too.
Which, they were okay, but the first one was the best one, and they kind of got super ludicrous But they were supposed to be.
They're supposed to be ludicrous. I mean, that's kind of the whole point.
Real
of those
campy, real silly.
Yeah. Whereas this one, it's kind of trying to be funny. Like, it's not taking itself super, super seriously. Like, it's trying to be a slasher movie. But I feel like it's got... I kind of feel like, especially in the mother character, even though she was playing it very seriously and playing it very straight, I do kind of feel like they were trying to mine some humor out of that. Maybe that's just me.
It's hard to tell.
Because, yeah, and there was that other weird scene, I don't know if you were watching this one scene, but where she calls, well, she was trying to call her boyfriend's office. And this is an apartment complex. Her boyfriend, Brad, owns the apartment complex. So his office, presumably, is at the apartment complex. So she keeps calling his office. Now, he's dead. Like, Terry's already killed him, which was a very funny scene. Like, goes in and cuts it. He's drinking a beer and he cuts his hand off. And then the hand is, like, still there twitching with the beer can and shit like that. And then he fucks his face all up or whatever. And so he's just sitting there at his desk, like, with no hand. Like, dead for hours. And so she keeps calling the office and he's not answering, and she's getting more and more, like, distraught about it. I don't know why she didn't just toddle over there, because presumably it was within walking distance, but she doesn't, like, not until the end of the movie. And so she keeps calling and no one's answering, so she calls the operator, like, because somehow it's their fault that he's not picking the phone up. Like, the phone isn't disconnected, he's just not answering it. So she calls, and there's this long scene where she's sitting on the couch with her hair, like, all slicked back from the shower, talking to this operator, and, like, saying stuff like, she's like, oh, well, my son just escaped from ran away from his school. Well, actually, it was a mental institution. She's just going on and on, like, talking to this, and I guess they're trying to show that she's, like, just isolated, lonely, crazy woman, and she, like, is trying to, like, find some connection with another human being or something. But it was just, like, it was so weird. Like, and all of the scenes like that, I think that's what makes this movie so entertaining, is that all of these scenes are just so fucking weird. Like, especially the scenes with her are, like, really weird.
Yeah, it's not expertly done. So you're not quite sure what the directors and I guess the writer, or whatever, what it is they're trying to convey to you. Is this supposed to be funny or not? You know, I think it was supposed to be funny, but it was, like, dry. It was a dry sense of humor. I think is what it was.
Yeah, because, I mean, how could that not be... Like, because they have a scene of her, you know, when she finds out that Todd has escaped from the mental institution, and she's like, oh my god, maybe he's coming here and he's a psychopath or whatever, which, you know, obviously that would upset you. You know, and they first kind of show her, like, popping some pills, which, you know, is not super funny. You're like, okay, she's, you know, taking some tranquilizers or whatever. But then, like, it just keeps amping up. Like, then she's, like, pouring this big thing of wine while she's oven. Then she's, like, eating out of the fridge.
Kind of reminded me of some of the stuff you see at an airplane.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like, not quite as...
I think that's what they were trying to do.
But it was bizarre because she was obviously taking it really seriously, like the actress. And so... In a way, I don't know. In a way, that kind of made it funnier to me. Yeah. Because it's just kind of, and then she's, like, scrubbing the oven. Yeah. Like, in the next scene.
They had a cast. They had a story. They had a camera. So they just shot a lot of stuff, and they put it in the movie. But our version, they took a lot of stuff out. Had we seen the unedited version, I probably would have liked it better.
Yeah, because they took a lot out. Yeah. Like, when I went back and...
It would have been more over the top if it had more nudity and more violence in it.
Yeah, because, like, like, the one part where that one couple, where, like, one of the chicks was, like, babysitting, like, they had that baby, and then the one couple was there, and, like, the one dude was nerdy, and they had, like, all the weird liquor or whatever, and, that dude gets beheaded, and she finds his head, like, hanging, like, she opens the apartment door, and, like, his head is, like, hanging there. You know what I mean?
Just trying to make...
And they didn't share that, like, in the cut that
They're just trying to do a different kind of horror movie. When we were growing up, around this time, 87, even though this was filmed in 83, the horror movies that were big sellers that we all liked were very simple, very linear stories, very basic. Like Friday the 13th Part 1 is basic as fuck, all right? There isn't really any extra storylines in it. This one kind of goes all over the place. It's trying to be a little bit more complicated than that, which it works, I guess.
I mean,
works.
it's fairly
It's
straightforward.
just a different kind
though.
of movie.
I mean, it's just twin brothers. One of them's a killer and framed the other one.
If this was a Friday the 13th movie, fucking about 30 minutes of this shit would be gone. It would be a direct line of what happened, one after the other. There wouldn't be too much side stories, about the mom going crazy. They wouldn't have that in there. It would be just like the ones that we liked, really looking back on them, were nothing more than just scene after scene of people getting killed. In between those kill scenes was just some kind of excuse to get to the next scene. Remember, that's the way they were.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to them. And when you're young, that kind of appeals to you more.
Yeah.
Because it's fast.
Because you're just like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah,
I just need to see people get murdered. Come on.
You're a teenager. You know what I mean? And you're a teenager. And,
time's wasted.
Yeah, you're like, you're kind of easily distracted, and so you got to pull a teenager in, and that's really, I think, who was supposed to be watching these movies. That's who they were more.
Well, yeah.
You pulled a teenager in, and then you just kept dazzling him. You dazzle him with fucking special effects, gore special effects, and then some titties, and then you do some more gore special effects, and then some booty, and then some gore. Sex was totally woven into them, and we will watch them because of that too. It was pre-internet, of course, for you kids. Kids, okay. You really couldn't see too much nudity other than in these movies. And it was kind of a gag, really, Oh, man, fucking they showed her a titty. She's going to die.
Well, yeah.
You knew that was going to happen. Just like...
Because got to punish everybody in horror movies.
Yeah, if they were having sex, they were going to die. Yeah, if you saw
or not even promiscuous, like you just had to have sex one time and you get murdered.
Yeah, if you saw her nude or just a fucking titty shots, you're like, yeah, she's going to die soon.
Yeah,
because they're teasing you with something and then they go, oh, we're taking it away. Look, we killed her. But
there was, what's weird? There was a little bit. They didn't lean too hard into this in Blood Rage, but I do kind of feel like Terry was a little bit of a Puritan, because they did have a couple scenes where, because he was over at the they go to the girl's house, like Phantom said what her name was, Andrea, like they go to her house, ooh, let's go party, and then they go there and basically it's just like two of them are playing video games, like some Atari or ColecoVision or something like that, and then like the other two are kind of sort of making out on the couch, but he's like not, she just like directly like puts her hand like right in his crotch and he's just like not having it, and he doesn't drink and all this other stuff. And then there's a scene later on, which I think was cut out of our version, but I saw it like later on, where two people are, the pool thing where the whole end conflict happened. There's a couple like straight up fucking on the diving board, like right, and it, like totally naked, like on the diving board. I'm like, okay, he'd be sliding off or whatever. But Terry comes up to him with the machete and basically goes, "Stop that!" and then hacks him or something. I think he said, "Stop that."
Yeah.
So I thought that was very funny.
Yeah. But they were just supposed to be very primal movies, just sex and violence and humor, all kind of rolled into the same movie, and they were kind of fast paced. And really, man, looking back on it, Friday the 13th 1, 2, and 3. If you watch those, we've watched those recently. Okay, 'cause I own those. They're really not much. There's not much to them.
No, of course not.
But back in those days, we thought that was some serious shit. Kind of like explicit. You weren't really supposed to be watching that. So you were kind of like getting away from it. They were showing you something they shouldn't have been showing you. That was the feeling. But we didn't know anything about like some of the Italian ones that were out there because we couldn't get those. They weren't playing those on HBO. They weren't playing those on cable.
Yeah, because those were a lot more.
Yeah. Now later on, we got our hands on some of them when VHS came out. We'd go to that West Coast Video. West Coast Video would have like shit that Blockbuster wouldn't rent out. Hardcore horror movies, foreign ones. There was also another thing that was going on around this time. Actually, went back into the early '80s. Creepy Giallo-like movies, kind of like Alice, Sweet Alice. That was another direction that you could go. They would, that
was a great fucking
and
movie.
The Tenant. The Tenant was another one. Roman Polanski film.
That was 76. Yeah,
76. That one. They were movies that they weren't sometimes they were gory, but it wasn't like a gore fest type movie. There was just creepy ideas and imageries that would fucking stick with you. When the movie was over, you'd feel like fucking, like kind of nasty. You know what I mean? Remember when that girl had all those cockroaches in the bottle and she's throwing the matches in there? You know, just weird shit like that, you know? Yeah. Just,
shit like that, like, freaks me out more than
remember when that
just
dude put
straight up gore.
Remember that dude put the cigarette out in that mouse he was holding on his hand? You know, just shit like that. You know what I mean? Fucking...
Yeah, like, disturbing shit.
Disturbing shit,
Like I said, that's more disturbing to me than...
Yeah.
It's funny, speaking of Italian movies, I was just randomly watching shit the other day, and I've been kind of in a slasher-y kind of mood lately. Because other night I watched like House on Sorority Row and some other ones. But then like I picked at random a little Italian flick called Burial Ground, which I think is also called The Nights of Terror. And it's not a great movie. It's pretty boring, but and there's like no plot per se. It's essentially a zombie movie. You could tell that I think it was from 1981. And I think you could tell that it was very, very influenced by Lucio Fulci's zombies because the zombies look pretty good, like for the budget that I'm sure that they had. And everybody in the movie was horny. Like they show up, it's a bunch of different couples like turning up at this palatial estate or something, and then just immediately there was some guy like with a beard, and he was an archaeologist, I think, and he said some random shit about magic waking the dead, and that was pretty much all the explanation they gave. So then like just all the dead people started coming out, like all the zombies, and just started eating everybody. So it's like there was absolutely no plot. It was just basically each character getting eaten by zombies. Yeah. Now I will say that like the gore in it was actually pretty good. Yeah. And you also got to see a kid. He was supposed to be a kid, but I'm pretty sure he was an adult that had some kind of something. Like, I've seen other
liver problem
people that looked like that were, like, really, really small, that were, like, child-sized, but were clearly adults. Yeah. Kind of like, you know the guy that played Isaac in Children of the Corn? The 1984 one?
Yeah.
Who was, like, the real small? Yeah. Like, this guy was like that, but, like, weirder looking. Mm-hmm. But he was playing a kid, and he had, like, a weird quasi-sexual thing going on with his mom. Yeah. And when he gets turned into a zombie, he straight up bites her titty off. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Italy. Yeah. He's so, like, like, and I was just...
There was another movie, I think this must have been around 83, maybe 84. I think it was 83, maybe 82. And wasn't it called Dead and Buried?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dead and Buried.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, and that was one. It felt like it was Italian, but I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't.
It was about a guy who was a doctor who was making zombies, basically. But they looked totally normal. They looked like living people, but they weren't. They were.
Yeah, it was like it was kind of an original take.
Very original take. That one was another one that would like. Not much gore happened in it, but it was just so fucking unsettling the way it was back then. I haven't seen it in a long time. It may not be as eerie as it was.
We reviewed back in the 80s, a while back.
Yeah, back in the 80s when you saw that shit, you're like, you get creeped out.
No, Dead and Buried is really good.
Dead and Buried, yeah.
It's really good. American Military 100 said, Jenny, you looked exquisite on last Friday's Sidetracks episode. Thank you very much. Yeah, we were going out after, that's why. So I was extra special dressed up. And then he says, I guess that pseudo leather daddy sitting next to you was pretty hot too, LOL.
Who said that?
American Military 100.
Okay, yeah.
Jack the Macaw, Tom has been lifting. Good work.
I've been lifting for 5 years.
I guess you haven't been here in a while.
Yeah. I've been lifting for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm enhanced. I'm on TRT and all kinds of other shit.
Enhanced.
I'm enhanced, yeah. I ain't natural. Fuck no. I would never lie to y'all.
Would I lie to you? Phantom said, I just acquired the 1982 Bill Paxton slasher film Mortuary and watched it for the first time. It was pretty decent. The one chick played in the Waltons and gets nude in the film. See, I
wouldn't mind seeing that because Paxton did good shit.
I thought I saw Mortuary, but was there more than one? Because I saw a movie that I think was called Mortuary, but I don't think Bill Paxton was in it. I'd have to go back and watch. It's been a while. And I remember like not really liking it, but it might have been a different movie. It might have been a different movie. So, yeah, maybe I think they probably have it. We can look for it later if you want.
Okay.
Like, we can watch it after the show.
Yeah.
Or you said you also wanted to watch Krull, because we saw
I
it.
want to see Krull again. I haven't seen that forever. I remember liking Krull and disliking it at the same time.
I kind of remember having the same emotion.
I was like, man, this is a really cool flick that they fucked up. That's the way I remembered it. Like, man, they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have. Man, that shit looked cool. Why did they do that? Why did they fuck that up? You know, because it looked cool, but then they did this and that. And like, it was a fantasy film, but sci-fi, fantasy.
Yeah.
Very much like something kind of out of Heavy Metal magazine or something.
So we should watch. We should do a double feature tonight. We'll do Mortuary and Krull. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and there was a Krull stand-up video game at the arcade I used to play.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It was fun.
Yeah, I don't remember if I ever played it. I probably did at some stage.
Yeah, Krull.
Because I used to hang out at arcades all the time.
I don't even remember what the game was like, but I just remember liking the game. I also liked Solivov. That was around the same time. The little flying thing where you're going over the geometrical fucking city and shit.
Yeah,
futuristic.
I don't know if I ever played that.
Solivov, yeah.
American Military 100 said, I never knew the director of Blood Rage also directed Scalpel. Cool flick. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier because if you go over on my Flickers of Fear movie review series, I actually reviewed Scalpel. It was a while back, probably like several months ago. I actually really dug Scalpel. You don't really hear anybody talking about it anymore. And I had actually never even heard of it until I just kind of came across it randomly, like on this list of like, hey, underrated horror from the 70s or 80s or whatever. And I ended up really, really liking it. Like, it's pretty, like I said, it kind of had a Southern Gothic flair to it, which I was kind of into. And it also kind of had, well, it wasn't about twins, really. It was like about a imposter. Like somebody surgically making somebody look like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like to get money. It was that kind of thing. So it wasn't really anything like this one, other than being a horror movie, essentially. You wouldn't really have known that it was the same director, I wouldn't think.
Okay.
But, you know, and this might be the only 2 movies he ever made. Is it? I thought I read somewhere that it was the only 2 movies he ever made, but I'm not really sure. But like I said, Phantom said the cop from the film Pieces. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Plays the mortuary owner in Mortuary. Christopher George both. Okay, so maybe it's a different movie that I'm thinking of, because I thought I saw another one called Mortuary, but that's not ringing a bell. CB said, I love horror films where the final girls fall at the end because when they survive, it's predictable.
Well, they were emulating fucking Friday the 13th, but it may have gone back far to like The Birds. Didn't the girl from The Birds survive?
Well, even before Friday the 13th was Halloween.
Halloween, yeah.
I kind of feel like most of the slasher movies were ripping off Halloween, because that was 1978. Or Black Christmas, which was 1978.
The girl from Psycho didn't live.
No. Well, that was kind of the big twist.
That was a good thing about
that. That was why Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
That was one of the first big movies where they were like, don't spoil it for anybody, because she was such a big star, and like that people had never seen that done in movies, so it was like this big shock that she got killed. Like,
that's where a lot of this shit started, was from Psycho.
Well, yeah, I would argue that some people have argued that Psycho is the first slasher movie.
I would think so, yeah.
Which I guess so. I would argue
psychological thriller though too.
Yeah, I would argue that the first, and honestly, Peeping Tom, which came out the same year, the British movie, is more like a modern slasher. And it's also really influential, even though I feel like fewer people have seen it than Psycho. Yeah. I would argue that, I don't know if I'd call Psycho a slasher film. I would maybe call it a proto-slasher.
Yeah.
I think the first film that I would call a slasher was Bay of Blood, the Mario Bava movie.
The Psycho franchise is one of the few horror franchises that got better as it went along. I got all the movies. I think there's 4 of them, isn't there? And they're all good. Yeah. They're all fucking. They kind of get better as they go. The only other horror franchise that does that I can remember is Phantasm. Phantasm's a solid fucking.
I just rewatched the original Phantasm.
Yeah, Phantasm got better as it went, and funnier too though, and bigger budget.
I mean, yeah, like all the Phantasm.
Yeah, Phantasm. I would argue. Great thing about Phantasm is that Phantasm was kind of like Evil Dead. They're totally original. Totally original. They're making their own fucking lore. Which, hell yeah. And then they got Reggie. You know?
He's such a good character.
Yeah, he's a fucking great character, you know?
Well, and I've heard
and they're always treating him like he's a sex symbol, but he's just playing like a dude, middle-aged dude.
But he's like a good personality, though.
Yeah. Reggie.
And actually, and his real name is Reggie.
Yeah.
Reggie Bannister.
But remember,
but he's really like that.
Every
like
young chick in the fucking movies is trying to jump his bones.
Yeah.
Every young chick. And
they base that character on the real guy, on him, on the real guy. Yeah.
And they fucking, but them doing that made that character, and it's kind of a running gag in the movie. But yeah, it was.
But
great.
he's still awesome.
He's still awesome though. Yeah.
How can you
and
not
that
love
fucking
Reggie?
badass car. They have that badass, and I think they changed the car up a couple times, but it's just a badass fucking hot rod.
Yeah.
Muscle car.
Like I said, just this weekend I was like watching, because I watched the zombie movie, and then I was like, you know what? I kind of feel like watching the original Phantasm. They had the remastered one like on Amazon Prime or whatever, and I was like, I was kind of
the whole going into another universe, the other planet where they come from and everything, and the dwarves look like little Jawas. It was a great angle.
I mean, what a weird fucking premise that was.
Yeah, a little ball that fucking jump in your head and fucking shoot the.
And you just totally bought it. You're like, all right.
Yeah, the tall man would appear out of nowhere and do some shit. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
They were just made the whole story up, and it's good. And it continues to get cooler as in each movie, everything that they do.
Yeah, I like all the Phantasms.
Yeah.
They're all good. But yeah, so as far as this goes, like, another funny thing, and I forgot to mention this. I think that, like, one of the other videos that I saw, like, mentioned this too, because I thought this was really funny. But the one girl that was in this, I think that her character's name was Karen. The one that was kind of Terry's quasi-girlfriend. I guess she was supposed to be his girlfriend, right? Because she asked Todd if he would have sex with her, thinking it was Terry. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so I guess she wanted to be his girlfriend or whatever. And when she starts in final girl fashion, like stumbling across all the dead bodies of all her murdered friends, she kind of backs up, and then Terry has, I guess Jackie is the dude's name, or one of the people that he killed, like, in his lap, and he has like the dead guy like grab her ass or something like that, and her reaction is so fucking funny. Like, she's not horrified as you probably would be like in real life. She's almost like, even the other video they said it's almost like she's just annoyed. You know what I mean? She just basically says to him, "Why are you doing this?" Like, she doesn't run away. She's not like freaking out or screaming or anything like that. She's just like, "What the fuck, bro?" It's so funny. And she's kind of like that at the end too. Like wagging that baby around and shoving the baby in the cabinet. Like, I don't know why she did that. But because I thought he was gonna kill the baby, because I was like, oh, are they gonna go there? Is he gonna get the baby? But he doesn't. He just like leaves the baby, and the baby gets away. I don't know what she's gonna do with the baby. She's like the only one that's still alive, because she's sitting there holding it, going, well, shit, now I got a baby. Like, this baby's an orphan. Everybody else in the fucking apartment complex is dead. So what are you gonna do? I don't know, man. Everybody's dead except for her and the baby.
I guess that probably pretty much wraps it up on this one.
It probably does, yeah. So, like I said, if you want to see a Thanksgiving, so like I said, it's not super Thanksgiving heavy. It is set at Thanksgiving, and there's like a scene at the beginning where they're like eating turkey or whatever, and they, say stuff about Thanksgiving. But this is actually like a pretty fun. It's, like I said, it was shot in 83, but it didn't really come out until 87. And it's very, very, very 80s. And it's pretty entertaining just because of how, like, ridiculous it is. Don't watch the one that's on YouTube, though, because
it's edited.
All the gore and nudity has been cut out of it.
I probably would have liked it a lot more had I seen the rest of it.
So I had to go back and, like, rewatch, like, all the scenes, all the murder scenes, like, to make sure I got them all. And like I said, the gore is actually quite good for 1983, and there's, like, some really fun kills. So, yeah, so don't watch the YouTube version that somebody put the whole movie up, but, like, all the good shit has been taken out, pretty much. But, yeah, it's all that. All right, so I guess we're going to go, like I said, we got time. It's only, like, 8:30, so we can maybe do a double feature.
Yeah, we should get some food, though.
Well, yeah, we definitely need some food first. We'll get some food, and then we'll do a double feature. Like I said, mortuary and crawl, maybe, if I can find mortuary somewhere. But, yeah, all right, so thank you, everybody, for dropping by and hanging out with us this evening. Be sure to come back on Wednesday. We're going to do a show on the missing 411 conspiracy / cases, which is basically like people going missing like in under mysterious circumstances in like U.S. national parks and things like that. It's like a whole series of books, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit too. It's actually pretty fun, and I got like some weird cases like to talk about, so I think that should be pretty entertaining. So yeah, thanks everybody again for dropping by. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys again on Wednesday night.